Hello everyone, my name is Rabia. Today I want to talk about the story that I adapted to Hamlet. Okay, let's get started. Short story. One cold February morning, Murat was sitting in his apartment, unhappy and restless. It hasn't even been 2 weeks since the ruler lost his father Selim. He remembered his father's absence sadly and began to see Adiaman as a person and heal. He didn't want to involve it with any of the play's efforts after his father did. Although his friends Beyazıt and Malkoçoğlu invited him to the starboard to ride a horse to distract himself. He was determined to spend the whole day in the cemetery. However, he was in the prime of his youth, and it was his right to wander around. His mother Mihrima, such beautiful woman that she could not accept being a widow and married Vizier Selçuk just 2 weeks after her husband's death. Murat could not digest this. Not even a month after his father's death, his mother got married and she wanted to come to his senses as soon as possible, take care of the affairs of the palace and call his husband father. Murat started to experience trauma because of this and fell into depression. One day, he was sitting in his apartment. Beyazıt and Malkoçoğlu knocked on his door and informed him that they brought important news. Malkoçoğlu and Beyazıt say that one of the courts saw the ghost of the dead king while waiting for the palace at night, and he was looking inside his wife's window with an axe in his hand. At first, Murat thinks that this might only a hallucination. But Malkoçoğlu and Beyazıt want to wait the offer. As the night progresses, they go to the hut together, send the course. After some time, the soul of the dead king appeared only to the Murat. Approach Murat and take your revenge, my son. The snake that will be your mother and the wizard whom called my friends poisoned me and took over my throne, my lands and my crown. Unless you take my revenge, there will be no rest for in my grave. The love of the woman I call my sultan is fake. Take a revenge, son, he says and disappears. Murat wants to die because of what he hears and takes revenge. Murat destroys himself with his ambitions and starts to his mother. 2 days before his father's death, Murat introduced him to a beautiful Christian girl named Alexandra, and they promised each other that we'll get together again. But Murat, who became depressed after his father's death, did not answer the girl's letters, and after his mother's betrayal to his father, he avoided romantic relationships and he thinks had a problematic marriage and sexual intercourse as a result of the trauma he experienced. However, since Alexandra's father as a priest, he visits the palace frequently. One day the priest come to palace again and he received the news that Alexandra had started working as a nun in the monastery. Since it was a patriarchal society, at that time girls were not worth much. He valued his son Peter more, and so Alexander, he could no longer stand the discrimination she experienced, made such decisions. Meanwhile, Murat was making plans to revenge his father. Malkoçoğlu and Beyazıt come to visit Murat again one day. Murat trusted Malkoçoğlu very much and talked to him. Malkoçoğlu said that he was ready to help him. Malkoçoğlu said that there would be a theatrical place in the village and he wanted Murat join them. Murat was a little surprised by this because there were civil wars and political conflicts at that time, but the idea came to Murat's mind. The players would come to palace and perform this play, or Murat would take his stepfather, his mother's friends, and go to buy the square with the course which display. In those days, the people were a little afraid because witches and wizards come to village in disguise. After a few days, Murat told his father and stepfather the idea of watching this village theatrical place. The name of the game to play it was called Tricks in the War of the Inheritance and Innocence Deed. His mother and stepfather said that they would not in the same environment with the peasants, and they said that would not go there. There is a nobleman, and if the actors come to palace, we will watch this play. Even though Murat is the prince of such a noble family, he starts wearing torn clothes and pretending to crazy. His mother thinks that the reason for these stations is that he lost his father and he makes himself look crazy with his father ghost, and when the players will come to palace is determined. The palace is cleaned. Murat determines the game, the play it. The subject of this game is forbidden love in a small village. They were in love and managed to hide it for years. But one day, woman's husbands cheat them. However, the husband kissed the other man with a dagger. They got married not even 3 days after this incident. And the woman's little daughter, named Catherine, writes a letter to her uncle confessing the truth and commits suicide. The uncle kills both his aunts and men runaways. This was the content of the game. Murat would react by observation his mother and stepfather's reaction through this game. The players very happy invite to palace because there was a turmoil in the city those days. After a few days, preparations were made and the actors completed their rehearsal. But on the February, a disaster that no could have imagined occurred, and the prepared play was to be played the next morning. The place was destroyed in the earthquake, and the whole city was destroyed. And it was such a big earthquake that millions of people did that cold winter night. Murat's mother's stepfather's Edward Beyazıt also died in the earthquake. Murat's revenge plans were realized through God. As a result of this trauma, Murat began to dream every night and his might. Alexander committed suicide because of this. She lost her father and brother. Murat was left all alone, and his father ghost was saying every night, "You couldn't take my revenge. My bones aches every night. You are covered." Murat couldn't stand it anymore. The city had become hell for him, and he decided to hang on clock tower. However, he left a note for the friend Malkoçoğlu. This earthquake destroyed everything, but of course it will get better one day. As long as you live, tell my story, because as long as I remember it, I will find place. This is my will to you. This was my will be remembered as long as I hang in this clock tower. To fulfill the will, his friend had his lifeless body made into statue, and that statue was always under six. He reminded me of the February earthquake, and the clock on the clock tower reminded as the time when the earthquake occurred and the time when Murat hung himself. Okay, thank you for listening. See you later.